As stated by U.S. correspondent, President Joe Biden will host leaders of NATO in Washington, D.C. this week as the military alliance marks 75 years since its formation. Joining us to discuss this further is SABC News International Editor Sophie Mokoena. Sophie, good afternoon. So NATO marks 75 years since its founding. Let's start with the purpose upon its founding, just for the benefit of those who might not fully be knowledgeable on the alliance of these countries.
Well, it was launched in 1949. You have 2 countries from North America and also 30 from Europe. The intention was to support each other when one member country is facing attack from the third party. And it is an alliance based on military but also politically. And therefore, the intention there was to defend member countries. But we've seen this organization encroaching on territories where they are not supposed to operate. You'd recall that it was NATO that went to Libya and attacked Libya, and that even led to the killing of Muammar Gaddafi. We saw what happened in Iraq, and therefore many people have been very critical of this organization, particularly in terms of the expansion and the current tension between Ukraine and Russia. It is based on the fact that even the Russian Federation is complaining that NATO's expansion is threatening the security of Russia, even though some people will argue differently. But generally that was the purpose, and quite an old organization after the Second World War, during Cold War.
Speaking of Russia, one assumes then that President Putin will probably be monitoring just the process around the summit itself, developments thereof, because he has maintained that what we're seeing now, the instability in the East, their invasion of the Ukraine, is a blame that should be placed squarely at the door of NATO for their decision to expand eastward, or perhaps even entertain, perhaps bringing in the likes of the Ukraine.
Yes, you know that has been the argument, but you have those countries saying that they have a right to take a decision what they want to do in terms of association, and that is why Ukraine has also applied to be a member of NATO. You know that other countries such as Poland and also Finland and many others are part of this alliance near the border of Russia, and therefore that tension has been there. Some people were even asking that why these countries, the European countries, if they want peace in Europe, particularly in the eastern part, why you don't invite Russia to be part of the EU or to be part of NATO, so that you don't have this standoff. But we know that the formation of NATO, it was to block the then Soviet Union during Cold War. And much as now you have Russia, but it is the same people who are part of the Russian Federation in terms of history of that area and country, and therefore that tension will continue to be there, because initially in its formation it was supposed to be monitoring the Soviet Union, because already there were fears that Soviet Union was too powerful. Even now we have a similar situation where these countries are so scared of Russia, and they are monitoring Russia, whatever movement, and therefore there's no way they will do away with NATO or change how NATO is operating. But that expansion has always been a thorny issue.
Then to the timing of the summit. It takes place at a time when President Biden's candidature is facing a lot of criticism. How important is it for him to come out as a coherent and confident leader? We've already heard today from Sherwin that he had somewhat of a defiant tone. How important is this during this summit?
Well, this is very important. The cameras will be there. You're talking about 30 countries from Europe, and one country that is your Canada, and of course America, and therefore the media around the world will be covering this important summit, and cameras will be there all the way, and therefore Many people will be looking at his body language, what he is saying, whether he is coherent, and how he responds to issues, or when he's having those one-on-one and the photo op in passing, the comments, what is he going to say? And I can tell you, before the end of the summit, something is going to come up. Even though yesterday, the Secretary of the White House, the press secretary, was very confident that he will be able to handle this important event and important meeting. They were even brave to say that on Thursday he is going to have a massive media briefing or press conference with both local and international media, where they can ask any question, whatever, whether it's local issues or national issues or international issues. And I can tell you, everybody will be watching that briefing on Thursday. What is he going to say? Will he be able to answer questions? Earlier on, before I came here on the third floor for this discussion, I saw a report that the Democrats caucus in Washington had a closed door meeting, and it looks like it was very tense, and there's still divisions whether he should soldier on or give way. But the question is, if he does step aside, who is going to come in? Many people are saying Kamala Harris in America, being a woman. I don't want
Sophie,
to
I
even
wish
go
you were
far.
more confident about this, because it's quite unfortunate. Many people have said that she actually is equal to the task. She's female, she's black, it is time.
Yes, indeed. And she can give Donald Trump a run for his money in terms of debate. But unfortunately, this is America. And yes, America is speaking. I can't see her getting the nod. And therefore, they are stuck with Joe Biden. Unless you get some of these mayors or governors, if there's one who can step in. But when you look at the profile of people within the Democrats, if you want to take Donald Trump at this moment, you must have stature and you must have a profile. It is going to be very difficult, but we'll see. They will soon have a Congress. Let's see what's going to happen at that Congress. And Donald Trump is even more relaxed now. You look at his campaign, he's not as vigorous as he is supposed to be, because I think watching what's happening within the Democrats, he feels there's no need, there's no challenger. But you don't know. The voters, you don't know, the electorate can decide, and they can send a strong message. So we'll see.
And this is all because of that disastrous debate with Donald Trump. Perhaps it was ill-advised. Sophie, as always, thank you very much for your time. That's International News Editor Sophie Mokoena.